and welcome to another edition of Tutorials with Miss M. I think some people are listening, some people might not, but that's okay. So you've opened up the file called Grandma in Photoshop right now, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to make a copy of the background because I want to easily be able to see any changes that I make and easily compare it to the original. So what's one way we could make a copy of the background? Who knows how to make a copy? All right, Tayshan, what do we do?
Drag it to that little post-it on the bottom right corner.
Perfect. Yeah, you could drag it to the little post-it note icon in the lower right, the one next to the trash can. Okay, so you could do it that way. Or, what's another way we could make a copy of the background? No, just a copy of the... Good guess, good guess. Huh? Duplicate layer. Yeah, you could right-click on it and say duplicate layer. So either way, it's totally fine. So this first, my background copy, rename it by double-clicking on where it says background copy. And I'm going to call this one, let's say,
Better Grandma.
Better Grandma? No, I'm going to call it, yes, okay, fine, I'll call it Better Grandma. Okay? But just something so I know that this is the background's the original, and then the copy is where I'm going to be doing some of my photoshopping. Okay. Okay, so you renamed your file, and I'm going to start by teaching you the two most common tools you're going to use overall. So I'm going to zoom in. What's the shortcut for zooming in?
Control plus.
Yeah, Control plus.
Hayden taught me that.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in, and let's just zoom in so again, that's Control plus or Control minus to zoom out. I want to zoom in so that I'm kind of in this, just in the background area here, where I can get all up and close with these nice, beautiful dust spots and water spots. Ooh. Ah. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I know. So the first thing we're going to use is I want you to go over to your tools palette, and then over here, or actually, let's find, we're going to use the spot healing brush first. So find the thing that looks like a Band-Aid. A Band-Aid.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, and there's two. There's a healing brush, looks like a Band-Aid, but make sure you have the spot healing brush. Okay? All right, so you should just have the little Band-Aid. Does anyone need help finding the Band-Aid? You got, okay? So, there it is. Great, and make sure it's the spot healing brush. Okay, and just like we can make a brush bigger or smaller using the right and left bracket with our regular brush tool, the spot healing brush, okay, practice making it big with your right bracket and small with your left bracket. But basically, you're going to, what the spot healing brush does is when you click on an area, it looks at everything around where you're clicking, and it kind of says, oh, okay, well, everything around this black spot is a brown color, so I'm going to make this a brown color. Okay? So it kind of balances it out.
With Matsumoto, I lost the face.
You lost the face. So this is really good only for like dust spots or little tiny spots where the surrounding area is similar. Okay, so and you know, the smaller your brush, the more precise it'll be. So this can be really tedious, especially if you're getting rid of all these little black specks, you know. And what I like to do a lot when I'm retouching is I'm zoomed in a lot, but then I kind of, every once in a while, I'll zoom out. So Control minus, just to make sure it looks natural and seamless, because otherwise, if you're too zoomed in, you're not getting the context of it. So I like to zoom out and zoom in every once in a while to make sure that it looks okay. Okay? And so you can click on the eyeball. So I'm clicking on the eyeball next to Better Grandma so I can see before, after, before, after. Wow, wow, wow. Okay?
We should get close to participation.
Okay, so that's, yeah, so again, the spot healing brush is good for just that, tiny spots that are surrounded by a good area. Okay, the spot healing brush, however, is not going to be your friend when it comes to something like the eye, okay, because that's really messed up, or I'm going to go down to the necklace, okay, let's zoom in on the necklace, okay, because I'm going to show you a different tool. Okay, so I'm zoomed in on the necklace right now. The spot healing brush might work for some of these teeny little spots, like these white spots, but the spot healing brush isn't really going to help me that much when it comes to trying to retouch this whole necklace part, because it's not surrounded by the right tones. because here, I'll actually try. So if I try and use the spot healing brush here, okay, it doesn't look right. Okay, so I'm undoing it, Control Z. Okay, so what we're going to use for areas like this where we need to recreate a certain pattern or a certain texture in a more detailed way where it's not surrounded by the right thing, this is when we want to switch over to the clone stamp tool. So over on your left-hand panel, switch to the clone stamp. Okay, it looks like an old-fashioned stamp. So switch to the clone stamp tool. Okay, and just like that, Star Wars movie, the really bad one, Attack of the Clones. Okay, what's a clone? Yeah, an exact copy, an exact duplicate. So what the clone stamp does is you have to select an area where I'm going to say, okay, I like this part of the necklace here. Okay, so I'm going to press Option on your keyboard, and I want you to click. So I'm saying Option and click where you want to sample from. And then it lets you take that area and kind of paste it over. Oh, on your keys it's Alt. Sorry, I'm on a Mac. So it's Alt on yours. My bad. So okay, so you would say Alt, click, and that's saying here's where I want to sample from. And then you move your cursor over. So I'm like trying to recreate these stripes on the necklace, so it looks a little more natural. And then the tan parts. So it's always going to let you resample from a certain area. So you have to be very careful and make sure when you're using the clone stamp, again, zooming in and out, to make sure it actually looks decent. So pretty much you're mostly going to be using the clone stamp and the spot healing brush tool. So again, the spot healing brush is good when it's a little area surrounded by exactly how you want to fix it. And the clone stamp is when you need to be much more precise. And especially if you like had a dress with polka dots on it, or something a lot more specific, where the spot healing brush is just going to look way too fake. Okay, so I could do a better job on that necklace. Yeah, see when I zoom out, I'm like, maybe they wouldn't notice it at first with the necklace. So yeah, it's better. I could do a lot better on that. So those are your first two tools that you're going to use to just get rid of as much as possible. And I know this photo is really messed up, so I'm not expecting you to completely redo it. This photo, it's like, this is a practice one, so you're trying to make it look as seamless as possible. The other things that I want you to do when you retouch a photo, what else is wrong with this picture? Aside from, okay, we see there's tons of dust, there's tons of scratches, tons of watermarks. What else is wrong with this photo? Yeah, Lalo.
The edges are really, in contrast with the person.
Yeah, the edges aren't great, so we could either crop it in, or in the example with my grandparents where there was a white border on it, and it just didn't look very good. So you could crop, get rid of some of the border. So that might be an option for when you're editing your own family photo if you need to crop it. So I could crop and maybe try and get rid of a little bit of this brownish stuff. But maybe I'll just retouch. It's the debate between, okay, is it easier to crop it and will it still look good if I get rid of a lot of it? There, I just made my work a little bit easier, okay? Then I got to retouch down here. What else is wrong with this photo that we should touch up? So say once I get rid of all the spots and all the speckles, what else still might not look so great on this photo? What about this photo? Might need adjustment. Well, you're all busy clicking away. I'll give you. So what I would want to do also is I would want to add a color balance, because this photo overall, what color do we mostly see in this photo? Browns and
blacks,
yellows. The colors don't look right. So I would go down here to my adjustment layers, and I would add a color balance layer. So I'm going to take out some of the yellow, and see that her skin tones look a little bit more natural now, and it looks kind of blue, so maybe I'll add some red. Yeah, so you want to add a color balance. So if you're changing a color photo, yeah, see the color now looks a little bit more natural. And then I would also want to add a levels or curves. So I'll do levels because it's easier, and let's add a little bit of contrast to grandma. Sorry, that was the curves. I'm going to do a levels instead. Okay, I'm going to darken my shadows in my histogram, and then maybe I'll brighten my highlights. Okay, and adjust my midtones. Okay. How did I darken it? Okay, so I'm in my levels adjustment layer, and this triangle represents your shadow values. So when you move this black triangle closer to the middle, it darkens your shadows. When you adjust the middle slider, it adjusts your midtones, and when you adjust this slider, it adjusts your highlights. So how do you get to the levels? Okay, so down here in your little circle, that's half black, half white. Click on that, and then click the word that says levels, and that's how you get to your levels adjustment layer. Okay, so yeah, this is how your basic photo retouching file should look. You should have one background copy where you're getting rid of as many dusts and scratches as you can. If your photo is color, you would do a color balance, but even black and white photos, a lot of the time they get a yellowy look, so you might even want to do a black and white adjustment layer when you're editing a black and white photo, and then always levels. Add some more contrast back to it. It looks very gray, very flat. Maybe I overdid it somewhat on this, so I might bring it back. Okay, but yeah, so those are the three main things you should be doing. Dust and scratches and spots is number 1. Adjusting the color should be number 2, and then adjusting the levels should be number 3.
We're going to turn this in, right?
I have your stamp sheets printing. Here, let me turn off my video recording here. Stop my screen.